Okay, everybody, this is BitDevs Radio Hour number 6. We are broadcasting live from ATL BitLab. That's Atlanta's Bitcoin and Freedom Tech community space. It is Friday, December 19th. I'm Stephen DeLorme,
I'm Alex Lewin.
and we have a special guest with us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name's Matthew Zipkin. I do Bitcoin research, development, and education here at Chaincode Labs.
And I hope you sometimes go by Pinhead online, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Doxed.
Just making sure because I tweeted out that like we're being joined by Pinhead MZ, and then I was like, oh crap, I hope I got that like screen name right.
Those of you who remember your mid-'80s comic strip characters might be able to figure out why Zippy the Pinhead is relevant to me. But,
Okay.
hacker name.
Is it like the Hellraiser thing?
No, that Pinhead's a little too scary. Zippy the Pinhead was like this really psychedelic, psychotic clown character from like newspaper comic strips, and because my last name's Zipkin, I just sort of picked that up.
Okay, nice. I like it.
Yeah, I distinctly remember the Halloween mask and thinking that it was the scariest thing in the Halloween store.
Oh, probably.
So we got a couple different things to talk about. I'll go ahead and just say on like some housekeeping notes. I imagine we might not be doing the stream next Friday. I'll probably be busy. Alex, if you feel like kicking one off without me, go for it. But we might not have one next Friday. Things are kind of cooling down for Bitcoin in Atlanta this season. We already did our holiday party, and so everyone's kind of off doing their own things with friends and family for the holiday season. So we'll probably see you in about 2 weeks here. We got a couple things we wanted to chat about though today, and specifically we want to bring Matthew on to talk about the Boss Challenge, which is kicking off in the new year. So I'll turn it over to you, Matthew.
Thanks. So the Boss Challenge, the link is bosschallenge.xyz if anybody wants to go check that out now. This is there we go. Thank you. Start your career in Bitcoin open source, or BOSS, Bitcoin open source software. This is our third year doing a BOSS program like this. It's very exciting and deep and challenging. So Chaincode typically does residencies or like educational programs. This is a little bit of a step beyond an educational program. It's a challenging program where we're basically trying to find people who want to get started working in Bitcoin open source software. So if you're an algebra teacher in New Jersey, or if you're a soccer coach, or you're working at Google or something like that, and you really like Bitcoin, you think you've got the skills to become a full-time Bitcoin open source software developer, we're looking for you. And this challenge is a way to prove your skill set and basically get on the Rolodex and get connected to people who can help you get grants. And the website is pretty self-explanatory there. You're looking at people who have succeeded in the program in the past and have changed their careers and started a career in Bitcoin open source software. So the applications are open now. You fill out a quick form, you sign up, you get your first coding challenge, which is a version of the game Saving Satoshi, released by the Bitcoin Development Project. And that is a fun narrative educational game with some JavaScript and Python coding challenges that cover various aspects of the Bitcoin protocol. And if you finish all 10 chapters of that, you will be invited into the program, which officially starts January 12th. So that is the real hard deadline. That's when we are going to start off kicking off the really hard coding challenges, where you'll be getting your fingernails dirty with Bitcoin script and cryptography and mining and networking and all kinds of stuff like that. And you'll have your opportunity to prove that you're ready to be a boss.
Dope. Now, are you with this program, and when we say Bitcoin open source software, are you like specifically looking for people who could become Bitcoin core contributors, or is it in any kind of Bitcoin open source software?
Yes, and Bitcoin core contributors, obviously we could use more of those, but there's also plenty of other Bitcoin open source projects. We want to get people involved with things like LND, CLN, Eclair, the Rust projects, Rust Bitcoin, LDK. PayJoin is a very exciting sort of new thing that could use a lot of effort. things like silent payments, other privacy improvements like that. So it's not just Bitcoin Core.
Very cool. Now, I noticed you said challenging. I had some friends who participated in the first one. I think the one 2 years ago, um, and the reports I got from everybody was it's challenging. It's very challenging.
Yeah, it's like I said, the saving Satoshi game that we start with starts off very easy and gets gradually more challenging. Saving Satoshi was designed to be something maybe a high school class could do together. And we've also run workshops at TabConf the past 2 years, playing that as a group. By the end of that, though, you were very familiar with a lot of the nitty gritty in Bitcoin stuff, like how bytes are organized in a transaction on the network, and how payment channels work in the Lightning Network. But it's still, saving Satoshi is approachable, and there are hints and a very amusing storyline to help people of all ages and skill levels sort of get through it. But once you're in the boss program, it's more like a real open source environment. There's no more hand holding. You have to be self motivated. There's no deadlines. People always ask, "Oh, okay, my mom's in town. Is it okay if I spend another day doing this?" And we're like, "We don't care. If you're contributing to Bitcoin Core, for example, and your mom's in town, you don't need to tell anybody that. You just do the work when you can, and contribute when you can." Um, and I'd say that is kind of a hurdle that some people have, is getting into this, like, I don't have a boss except for myself, the self-directed sort of programming.
That sounds, yeah, I understand. I mean, I remember I work at Voltage now, but in my like full-time open source days, it was like almost baffling with the amount of liberty with your time, where it's just, everybody's nobody has like set deadlines or anything like that. But how do you like what I know you said there was like another component to this. So during the first month, they're going to be doing coding challenges, right? And I'm assuming there. You said there's no deadlines to it. Is there like? I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is like, are there a certain number of coding challenges people need to complete to get past the first month, or is it more like kind of like the being judged on like the quality of the work, like showing your work? What can you just go into that a little?
Yeah, good question. I'd say it's a combination of those. So I guess there is there's kind of a deadline. There's sort of a soft deadline. Like, we have events planned for months 2 and 3,
Mm-hmm.
where by the end you are actually contributing to an actual open source project like Warnet or LDK or PayJoin. And in month 2 is when we start connecting successful participants in the program with these projects, and maybe get them one-on-one conversations with the maintainers of those projects and find issues that they can solve and start to work on. And the idea being that we're moving you towards that full-time contribution. So yeah,
Very
there is
cool.
there is a bit of a schedule. If you haven't finished the first coding challenge by the end of month 1, you're probably not going to make it, into what the goal of the program is. But we still encourage you to continue learning and finding
Yeah.
other resources and stuff.
Aside from just the saving Satoshi game itself, what kinds of skills, whether it's particular technologies or just like certain types of mindsets, like what helps somebody be prepared or like know that they might be ready for a challenge such as
Yeah,
this?
great question. Let's just talk about mindset first, because I feel like everything else comes later, and I'm sure you've experienced this just as BitDevs hosts. Like, curiosity and enthusiasm are the things that drive like this whole development ecosystem, pretty much. Like, if you are driven to learn, and you know how to use the internet to learn stuff on your own, that's half of it. And then if you're enthusiastic, if you think Bitcoin is cool, you want Bitcoin to happen, you want it to keep happening and survive, and get better and more private and more secure and more efficient. Like, that kind of enthusiasm is the other 40%. And the last 10% is like, okay, you learn how to write a function in C++, and anybody can do that. It's fueled by that the curiosity and the enthusiasm, maybe like the self motivation, like we already talked about, and just the technical interest.
Yeah. Do you, Alex? Do you have any questions?
Yeah. It sounds super interesting. Like there's a bunch of people, or there's been a bunch of programs to try, like over the years, to try to encourage more people to get into Bitcoin, like open source, and teach Bitcoin. This one seems like the most practical attempt at actually creating like full-time Bitcoin open source developers. Like it's very directed. Like people, like you're exposed immediately, and you find out quickly if the line of work is good for you. I appreciate that, definitely. One question, or I guess it kind of sounds like it's how you're describing it reminds me a lot about how like the hard college classes I took describe themselves. Like you must be self-motivated, you must be like eager, you must spend 10 hours a week. It's almost like verbatim what I remember from syllabuses.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of classes were you taking that were like falling into that category?
like I took one class that was like information retrieval. That was like how search engines work. That was like a hard
Okay,
class. It was
brutal.
like very,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of reminds me of that. Yeah.
I mean, and you're right. It does seem like one of the more pragmatic programs. Like, I mean, I've heard great reviews about like the Chaincode seminars, which I'm assuming must be kind of a spiritual prequel, or like the precursor to this program. But like when you hear Chaincode seminar, like Chaincode means something to me as someone in Bitcoin. But like if you're a talented technology person, for someone who cares about freedom tech, you've never heard of Chaincode and you don't know what a Chaincode seminar is, it kind of sounds like what is that? Whereas you do something that's like, okay, start your career in open source. That's kind of a little more like, oh, I want to get in on that program. That like tells me what I'm going to get out of this program, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, just in case your audience hasn't heard of Chaincode, we're over 10 years old, privately funded Bitcoin research, development, and education lab. We're not a nonprofit, but there's no profit. We're just privately funded. We support full-time Bitcoin core developers and LDK developers here. We have an office in Manhattan. If you've ever come to visit, it's an amazing view. This is where we have our New York City BitDevs here in the office. So we're dedicated to education and promotion of the software, as well as the continual development of it. And there's, again, like about the Rolodex, like there's just a lot of people here who know a lot of people. So that's one of the great things about this program is we've cast this huge worldwide net. The past 3 years, we've had people from all 24 time zones, hundreds of people. I think the second year we had almost 2,000. And then, you look at the website there and you see how many successful people we've gotten OpenSats grants, and it's like 20. So it's a very steep funnel. Thousands of people will apply. Not thousands of people will not make it all the way through month 3.
The few, the proud, the boss challenge winners.
Yeah. But it's great. I mean, like literally, there was an algebra teacher from New Jersey who just a high school algebra teacher, and I feel bad for the high school algebra kids who but he's a Bitcoin Core full-time developer now, and he's full-time and he works for localhost.
That's so sick.
It's okay. They can learn algebra from AI, but
yeah.
But actually, on that note, I have to be. I'm kidding there, but I have to be a little bit buzzy here and bring up AI because we've brought it up on the past couple episodes. It's kind of become a recurring topic the past couple episodes, just with discussion lately around AI generated pull requests and BIPs, and on the one hand you have this kind of scenario where people can AI generate their own proposed protocol changes. On the other hand, it's like, especially for me as a more applications layer developer, it's kind of like AI is the obvious choice. Like you kind of can't be an application layer developer and not be using AI these days. So I guess I'm just curious, like when you think about like getting into something like Bitcoin or Lightning protocol development, like what in your view is like, the right way to be using AI for someone who wants to deeply learn this stuff?
Yeah, really good question. I mean, I'll tell you. I'll just start off by saying like how I use AI is for documentation. Like ChatGPT is amazing. Like talking to a person who's read the entire internet. Like how do I write this function in C++ again? Or like, I forget what the syntax is to import a file in Python. Like I could Google it and go through a couple pages and see some results, but like I could just ask ChatGPT the question and get the syntax right away. The thing that I very rarely do is ask ChatGPT to write more than, I'd say, an entire function. Like, oh, I need to convert hex to ASCII, but reversed. and remove all the W's and capitalize the first letter of each word. Like, okay, I could spend 15 minutes doing that myself and write bugs at first and fix it, or I could nail that with ChatGPT. But I will not ask ChatGPT to serialize an entire Bitcoin transaction, to implement SecP. I mean, like, I know you're a designer, Stephen, and you were talking about applications. Like just earlier today, I had GPT write an entire website for me, just because, I mean, like, mobile compatible with CSS with the different colors and stuff. I cannot be bothered. But when it comes to stuff like protocol and Bitcoin, you have to use it more sparingly and use it as a tool. And like you said, like, people will open pull requests to Bitcoin Core that are clearly LLM generated. From soup to nuts, the code is LLM generated and the PR description is LLM generated. And what's funny is the Bitcoin Core maintainers now have an LLM powered bot that will detect those LLM pull requests and close them automatically. And it can be frustrating when I'm working with somebody or like reviewing a pull request and they're doing a good job and they seems like they really get it, and then they'll add a commit or they'll respond to a comment with something that's like clearly LLM generated, and I kind of lose interest dealing with them when I see that, and I think maybe a lot of other people do as well.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. I've had similar experiences with people where it's like, I almost wonder for some people if there's a pressure to not look like you don't have the answer. That was a awkward usage of grammar and double negatives, but like there's a fear of looking like I don't know or I have knowledge gaps. Like clearly doing a show like this on a live stream, I'm going to have knowledge gaps sometime, and people are probably going to call me out on it, and that's fine. It's okay to have knowledge gaps. It's okay to be called out on that, if you are open-minded and curious. And I do observe this kind of modern trend, especially among the youth, of like wanting to like I want to like run my answers through ChatGPT so that I don't show up looking like I don't know something. And I think that the thinking is sometimes is that like, well, I'll look more credible or I'll look more believable if I run it through an agent. Or I think the actual reality is that it actually makes you look less credible. It makes you look less intellectually brave if you like are uncomfortable with like being wrong in public. So I think that's an angle to consider.
Yeah, excellent point. And I have a lot of non-native English speaker colleagues that will use it frequently to just make sure that their English is correct. Stuff like that, obviously
Yeah,
makes
that makes
sense. Although even then you end up with like there's a bunch of M dashes in there and you're like, okay, it smells a little bit, or like the green check emoji is sort of overused. And you're like, okay, this is,
Yeah, I wonder how long it'll be until the bots get that out of their system. Like inevitably, the bots are going to get better, and this is going to be looked at as like the uncanny valley period of like AI writing. And I don't know. What's Matthew?
maybe.
What's your over under on amount of time it takes until the bot is removed because the LLM are such high quality?
I don't know. I
Or
mean, is AI going to last through the end of the year? Sounds like the Sam Altman's running out of money and everything's going to go bust. And
feels
like
real fun.
LLM, this like $20 a month ChatGPT level is not going to support the billions of dollars that they're spending to buy NVIDIA chips. And then quantum computing. Oh my God. I can't believe you guys aren't asking about quantum computing and the threat to Bitcoin yet. But
That's much less interesting.
Yeah. Okay, well, you heard it here first. AI is going away in a year. Well, cool. So we've definitely digressed a little bit from the boss program, but I guess before we move on to some of our other kind of topics, Matthew, is there anything you feel like we just like we should have gotten to about this but haven't discussed yet?
I'll tie a quick bow on this. Like,
Yeah.
as this being an educational program and like an achievement program, like we have, students and they will be using AI. Like I guarantee it. And like last year we had a student who was like, yeah, I was really trying hard to do these challenges, but somebody else with AI was just going so much faster than me. And I felt bad. I'm like, all right, well, the challenges this year are harder and they're newer. They're touching on more modern elements of the Bitcoin protocol. And so I'm hoping we are one step ahead of the LLMs. Like you ask LLM how to do a pay join. I don't think it's, like the BIP is like just recently finalized. I don't know if it'll be able to just generate the whole thing for you. So there's that, and that's just another aspect of the program is we're staying modern and relevant, and people always learn a lot, even if they don't make it through the end. It's not just a hard challenge. We are throwing you into a fire, but a lot of people get a lot out of it, even if they don't end up with a full-time job.
Yeah, I think if you want to like learn Bitcoin protocol stuff, like these kinds of programs are invaluable. And even if it's hard, it's like you're going to love it. You're going to feel good about yourself for trying, at least,
Yeah,
and learning something.
yeah,
Um, well, cool. What should people do? I guess go to bosschallenge.xyz, hit the
yeah.
big yellow apply button in the upper right.
That's it. Get started, and then worry about everything else later.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then they have until December 31st to hit that apply button,
correct.
and then they need to pass saving Satoshi, and if they get through that, then they'll be in on January 12th, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's when we get going.
Awesome. All right, you heard it, everybody. Hit the apply button. Get going.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of trippy. I just got back from Taiwan, and people were shilling the boss challenge over in Taiwan as well. So yeah,
Nice.
all over the world, people are excited about this.
Yeah, it's very exciting and global. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Matthew. Like I said, we're going
Thanks
to
for
go
having
through
me.
some other BitDevs topics here. If you feel like hanging out with us and making wisecracks throughout, you're welcome to hang with us. Otherwise, if you got to drop and go on with your life, that's fine too.
I'm going to drop. I appreciate you guys very much. Have a great show. Talk to you
All
later.
right. Thank you so much for joining us, Matthew. I'll catch you later.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
man.
Okay. So let's see.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Are you tempted to?
I'm kind of tempted to join.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done Bitcoin open source before in my Bitcoin design days, and I would be curious about, learning some of the protocol stuff more deeply. I've read Mastering Bitcoin, Mastering Lightning, very fascinated by the protocol, obviously by, showing up for BitDevs every week. I think, it's kind of interesting because I'm not sure if do I see myself as like a protocol developer? Maybe not, but I just like for the intellectual curiosity, I'd be very curious to try it.
Yeah. Ditto. I did one of their seminars before, and I learned a ton.
For the Chaincode seminar.
Yeah, the Chaincode seminar. It's like 6 weeks, and they give you a bunch of homework to just read stuff and learn. And then you meet once or twice a week to talk about what you learned. And that was super fun, super instructive, and learned a ton. So yeah, I'm also
All right.
curious. I feel like they're very specific about that. They're looking for people that are serious about changing their careers or serious about having a career in Bitcoin open source, and it makes me self-select and make me not want to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, certainly you don't want to waste anybody's time.
Of course.
But it's like, if at least for the part about just doing the exercises, at least try the saving Satoshi thing, that could be.
Yeah, I've done saving Satoshi before. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm also curious to see if the models are good enough to solve their problems, just from a kind of red team
AI
perspective.
hacker.
Yeah, if they think that it's too hard for AIs, I'm curious to see how far AIs would get you.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the AI thing all day. I think, but I think there's also there's a way that you can really, when you're a lot of times I find you can have really good conversations just asking how things work with ChatGPT and getting breakdowns and getting sources cited. So, if I think it really with these tools, it just depends on if you want to learn or not. There's a way that you can use these tools where you learn nothing, where you're just do this for me. And it's like, okay, I did it. Or I, tried,
Of course.
There's another way you can do it where you're like, I don't understand why I'm getting this error message. Help explain to me all the things that are causing this. Or another thing I like to do is be like, I want you to help me check my thinking on this. So I'm going to explain to you the way I think something works, and I want you to try and tell me where I got something wrong. And I find that I like with technical stuff that really helps me a ton.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a million productive ways to use it. Frankly, I'm even more interested in trying to get it to do my homework for me in this context, and seeing if I can offload the hard parts of the I can imagine if one of the problems like you mentioned is implementing page joins. I could totally imagine just taking the page join dip and then attaching it as context to a few smart models and and like see like, oh, can you first read this article and then plan out how you would implement it, and then write an implementation and Rust and then write test cases, and then go back and proofread and just like see if I could. I don't know. I don't think some people are very skeptical on AI's efficacy to do hard problems, and I'm kind of thinking.
All right, Alex, hit that apply button.
I'm curious, but yeah,
hit that apply button and write a bot to solve the thing for you.
Yeah. With that being said, like,
and I'm going to hit the apply button. I'm going to go through with a piece of paper and a slide ruler. And
spectacular. Yeah, on a whiteboard.
Yeah. All right, cool. Should we get into some of our BitDevs topics?
Yeah, or at least just with all that being said, I'm just super thankful that there are organizations like Chaincode doing this. Like Chaincode is as credible of an organization as they come in our industry, and it's very cool to see them wanting to help people become open source developers. So yeah, very thankful.
Ditto. Cool. What should we get into next? Well, obviously, we have a lot to talk about with Bitcoin plus Taiwan. We got on the deep technical side, we got LDK Node, some Stratum updates, and more ARCs. Where do you think we should start?
Maybe let's just go in order. Let's start with more ARCs. This is kind of funny.
Yeah. So there was a tweet today from some company I'd never heard of. Alex is bringing it up on screen here. They're called ARC. Their Twitter handle is @ARC, introducing the ARC Builders Fund. The next wave of this, that, and the other. Honestly, I'm not sure. Something crypto related. And it's like, okay, cool. And that was kind of funny because just last week, or the week before that, there was another tweet from another group, Block Spaces. Actually, Alex, our friend Alex here is.
Do tell me, Stephen, what is this organization, Block Spaces?
Well, so Blockspace, they were they were working on a Lightning project for a while, and then like a Lightning node kind of thing, and then pivoted and started this thing called ARC, ARCC, automatic reconciliation. Can you tell me, Alex?
If I remember correctly, it's auto reconciling contracts.
Auto reconciling contracts, and that's another Lightning protocol thing. I don't want to speak about it too deeply because I don't know it so well. We got a tweet here from Gabe Higgins from Blockspace with Kathy Wood from ARK Invest. That's ARK with a K. And ARK with a K has launched the Spark Innovation Center in St. Pete, Florida. So this is lowercase sp, capital ARK. So it's Spark Labs by ARK Invest. Now, so we have Blockspaces building ARC ARCC at Spark by ARK Invest. This is not to be confused with the ARC protocol that Barack originally drafted, which is now being run by Arcade Labs and Second Labs.
Or the separate Spark protocol made by LightSpark, the organization.
Yeah, LightSpark made Spark, not to be confused with ARC, not to be confused with ARCC or ARK Invest or Spark Labs by ARK Invest or ARK Fund, the new crypto company. Nobody can come up with names in this industry.
Well, there's just some really good names, It's I think this says more to people, or just more to the quality of the name ARC, and that everybody wants to use it rather than lack of creativity.
And well, of all the innovators working with ARC, shout out to our friend Nitesh working on an ARC wallet, which is called Noah, not to be confused with the company Noah that was doing some Bitcoin Lightning stuff a couple years ago.
Yeah. So what's the takeaway from all of these companies using the name ARC?
I don't know. Just okay, here's the takeaway. Y'all need to use AI to come up with names for your brands and companies. Like I love you, ARK Invest. I love you, Block Spaces. Y'all are cool. But yeah, I think it would. I'm being a jerk here. I'm just giving everybody a hard time. But it is so weird to me, just how many reuses of the same name we have in our industry, and I'm just boggled that why is no one just going to ChatGPT and being like, can you give me 50 possible names for this cool thing I want to do? But whatever.
Speak of the devil.
Are you pulling up Claude to get some renames?
Help me come up with a long list of Bitcoin company names. I want to call my company ARC, but everybody else is already called that. Ooh.
Here's a long list of Bitcoin company names with that clean, powerful one word vibe you're going for: geological, natural, bedrock, granite, obsidian, basalt, quarry, sediment, stratum. Well, that's already one. Uh, structural, architectural, vault, citadel, bulwark, rampart, pillar, spire. I mean,
These are great names.
yeah. Spire by Ark
Axiom.
Invest.
Yeah, Spire. Okay, so maybe just to in defense of these guys and some of the other
Yeah,
arcs.
yeah.
Blockspace's Arc product predates the Arc protocol. They thought of the name 6 months before Barack came out with his Arc. Unfortunate naming collision with that. Spark Labs, obviously, they're riffing on their name, which
Yeah, yeah.
predates Spark. So yeah, they're calling it Arc. Yeah, they're calling it Spark Labs by Ark Invest. They probably put by Ark Invest in the name to disambiguate.
From Light Spark Spark.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any other suffixes or any other words with arc in the suffix that they could have used other than spark. But anywho, naming is hard.
I get it. It's St. Pete Arc, St. Petersburg, Florida Arc. So SP Arc.
SPArcLabs.com. St. Pete Arc Labs. Yeah, okay, that
Uh,
makes a lot of sense. Very unfortunate that their name has also been hijacked by all these other people.
And it's one of those names that's easy to use for acronyms and stuff, because like ARC and ARK, it's one of those words that you can get away with having more consonants than vowels. So, and it also has all these biblical connotations for some people, like, oh, it's an ark to get off of the sinking fiat ship, or, I don't know, the fiat flood that's going to kill all the animals. I don't know. Anyways, this is becoming very not BitDevsy. So we wanted to, I don't know, I just had to get that rant
That's
out.
cool.
So
Yeah, love Gabe and Rosa. Excited for their next chapter.
totally.
It's cool that they're friends with Kathy Wood.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, no, I mean, all these projects are trying interesting things. So, tip of the hat to all these projects for trying new things and all that. Um, we're just making fun of everybody's names. Cool. What's up? What else is on our agenda?
Stratum V2 updates.
Yeah, we've, I'm not sure if we've talked about Stratum V2 on this show before. We've certainly talked about it at the Atlanta BitDevs meetups. This is sort of the replacement protocol for Stratum V1 for Bitcoin mining. The idea being that, like, if I'm running a mining pool, I need a way for miners to communicate with my pool, send me updates on what they're working on, all that kind of stuff. Stratum V1 had a lot of drawbacks. The kind of primary one in my mind was that it was unencrypted, and so there were actually attacks that could occur.
Yeah, it's definitely
Where,
the most egregious
yeah,
flaw. Yeah.
like, you don't want people, like, running miners getting their payouts, their block reward stolen from them. So
Yeah, this is just a drill of that a little bit. That's crazy that the first version that was in use for a decade had everything was in plain text. Anybody could sit in with a laptop running a program called Wireshark and then sniff all the traffic and steal all of the blocks that those miners produced.
yeah,
Like crazy that it was actually in use in production.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for digging into that. You're right. There's also there's kind of a centralization aspect of Stratum V1. You have a situation where the mining pool gets to assemble the block template. In other words, what goes into the block. So it's kind of like, well, it doesn't really matter if this pool has a million miners in it. You still have one entity that's assembling the block template, and they're the ones that are responsible for deciding what is allowed to go into the next block. So Stratum V2 has, promises of ways to decentralize that. I'm not going to go into that right now. The two major updates from the past couple weeks are that they made a couple of major releases in Stratum. So, actually, I'll start with the one Alex has on screen here. A company called Oradean, which I'd actually not heard of, but they manufacture miners. They've implemented Stratum V2, which is really cool. Um,
I've not heard of them either.
yeah, I've not heard of them either, and I've just started, really deep diving into mining within the past year, so I might just be out of the loop on that one. I mean, it'll be really cool when, we can get like, you know, we can get like the ant miners and stuff on this. But either way, glad to see manufacturers that are adopting Stratum V2, adopting the latest protocol updates.
Mm.
And Stratum V2 had some recent updates as well to their software. They had some major releases. They actually split it into a library as well as applications. And that's because with Stratum V2, you have all these different roles like that people can play. You can have the like the pool coordinator, and then you can have the block template assembler and the miner. So they have all these different roles, right? And so basically what they've done is their main library now is just like a library of Rust crates, to my understanding. And then the actual applications, which would be like the binaries that the different roles run, have been split off into another project. Another notable change from this one is that they're now using the Bitcoin Core V30 interface, which is really cool, which is big because that means they can now talk directly to a Bitcoin node directly instead of like needing to run Shores's fork of Bitcoin Core.
Wow.
So
Question on the apps release or
yeah,
the split. Do you know why they didn't just create a monorepo, or like they're creating a new repo?
I don't know.
Yeah, under a new global version. Yeah, I mean, it seems like that they didn't want to have to do versioning or complicate their versioning, but I wonder why they couldn't just create a monorepo and then have a folder called apps, like most projects that do this that I'm aware of.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you work on the Stratum V2 project and you want to let us know, send us a comment in the chat or send us a boost on Fountain or something like that. Uh,
cool.
cool. LDK Node 0.70. I'm pumped for this, and I missed this when the release happened on December 3rd. But there is a new version of LDK Node out, and it has experimental support for channel splicing, as well as support for async payments.
Wow, big.
And you're doing that thing where you zoom around on the screen. I can't read. Support for serving and paying static invoices for async payments has been added. So that's really exciting. So for anyone who's not aware, LDK Lightning Dev Kit. It's like a toolkit for building your own Lightning node. LDK Node is this kind of pre-built node. It uses LDK to make a Lightning node, and this is really cool because if you need to build an application, like let's say you want to build a Lightning wallet and you don't want to re-implement all the Lightning stuff, you can just import LDK Node into your project. Um, Super cool that it has made it not only into Lightning Dev Kit, but also the pre-built LDK node. I think that's huge for Lightning developers. The notable things about this that are really cool is splicing is a feature that Phoenix has had for a while, wherein like if you download Phoenix Wallet, you have a single Lightning channel with Async, the company. And when you need more liquidity in that channel, when you need to receive more money, they just splice more funds in.
Yeah, so to like in the past, if you had a Lightning channel and you wanted to change the size of the Lightning channel, there's no way to do that. You have to close the channel out and open another one. So this lets you adjust the size of a channel.
Yeah. And so it's really cool. I mean, we're very happy when Phoenix added that, but it's really cool now that it's an LDK node because this opens up the door for a lot more developers to add this. And then async payments. Holy crap. Where like async payments is, have you ever had to deal with this problem, Alex, where you're trying to send a lightning payment to somebody and they're like you sent it and you then it comes back to you as pending or failed, and then you text the person and be like hey, my payment, I tried to pay your invoice and it failed, and they're like, oh lol, sorry, my bad, my phone was in my pocket.
Uh, that specifically, no, but I have experienced stuck payments and failed payments before.
Oh, that's not happy. That happens to me all the time.
My Lightning node is, yeah, I guess I would love to pay more people with self-custodial mobile Lightning wallets, but I think a lot of people haven't been using self-custodial mobile Lightning wallets because of these issues.
Well, that's a good point. I try my, I use Phoenix as like a daily driver for me. It happens to me all the time. But you're right. I think to your point, because of these kinds of issues, that's why people haven't been adopting these. Well, async payments aims to fix that. It basically is a way that if you make that lightning payment and the person's phone is asleep or something like that, um, the Lightning service provider has a way to trustlessly kind of like hold on to that payment until they come back online.
Yeah.
So we can dig into async payments more, maybe in another episode when we have more time. I mean, it's a lot of complexity under the hood that makes it work, but I think it's just super cool that it's there in LDK Node and anybody can use that.
Do you know anybody using LDK Node at production yet?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are some people using it, but I mean, if you mean like, is there like a big project that everybody uses every day that uses it? That I don't know, but it's you know it's there for people who want to use it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I'm excited for all of these features, and LDK Node sounds like it would be a good choice for companies building wallets. I'm just not aware of anybody using it at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of irony of LDK Node is that a lot of the people who, um, a lot of the people who are like really trying to push the limits of Lightning and say, "Hey, we can build a really tiny Lightning node and put it in obscure places like a web browser extension or a secure enclave or whatever." Like a lot of those people are already like very deep. Like they're trying to do something that's so specific that they're ready to roll up their sleeves and actually just build it themselves using Lightning Dev Kit.
Hmm.
Um, so you know, with that being the case, but it's still good because async payments and splicing in Lightning Dev Kit is a good thing. LDK Node I like to think of as kind of like the easy mode for Lightning Dev Kit. So if you're not like a super experienced Rust developer, or you just are trying to build something as like a quick proof of concept or something like that, LDK Node is probably the easiest route for you because you don't have to re-implement all that like complicated Lightning stuff. But if you really actually are trying to build something like at scale, like, for a big company or, for a startup or something, and you have these very specific situations that you need your Lightning node to work in, you're probably better off just like kind of custom rolling it yourself with Lightning DevKit, would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding of like LDK Node is that versus LDK, the library is just the chassis of the car and nothing else, and you have to bring your own blocks, you have to bring your own database, you have to bring your own everything, basically.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like I would just think of it as like LDK is like all the parts to the car, and LDK is like LDK node is just like it's a car built using those parts.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
that's where I was going. It's like LDK Node is like, call it like the usable reference Lightning node built with
yeah.
LDK.
It's
Yeah,
like is that car built with all the features you wanted? Is it built exactly to the specs you wanted? Maybe not, but it's a pre-built car, which is kind of cool.
yeah, but they do the hard part of picking sensible dedefaults and assembling them in
Yeah,
a
exactly.
package. Um, cool, that's exciting.
All right, let's talk about some of the stuff. What you've been up to lately? Unless there's anything you want to get into with LDK Node here, why don't we talk about Taiwan a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about Taiwan. It relates to some of the other things we were talking about. Um, yeah, so Taiwan.
Still feeling the jet lag?
Yes, I got back yesterday. It's a 13-hour time change, which doesn't seem like it should be possible. Maybe it's only 11, but like the day changes, so it's like technically 13. Um, yeah, so the on
Or
Monday through Wednesday in Taiwan, there was a Bitcoin Plus Plus event, and the theme was sovereignty. So it attracted a bunch of interesting projects focusing on hardware wallets and self sovereignty. Like a lot of people, they care about privacy, but yeah, so it was wallets and then like privacy were kind of the two themes. Um, Interestingly, a bunch of the projects that people from former cohorts of the Boss Challenge. They now work on these projects that were there. So there was, I think, like 10 or 12 or 15 Boss Challenge alumni at this conference.
oh wow,
Um,
go boss challenge.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Like even Matthew mentioned, like they care about PayJoin a lot and silent payments, and those were like two of the biggest representers of people at the conference giving talks. Um, yeah, great conference. All of the footage from the main stage is online. Um, we can talk about specifically if you want some of the individual updates and
Yeah,
like
please
themes.
tell me what was good from the conference.
So have you heard of silent payments?
Yes, But for someone who isn't familiar with silent payments, maybe a quick refresher. I mean, silent payments is like this protocol for trying to make more private receives on Bitcoin.
Correct. Yeah. So in the past, if in the early days of Bitcoin, if you wanted people to send you Bitcoin for donations, perhaps you would create an address and then put it on your Twitter profile, and then people would send it to that one address. Can you think of any problems with doing this that way?
Yeah, I mean, address reuse, so then everybody can see how many tips and payments you've received to that one address. They not only know the entire balance, but they can see how many individual ones you've gotten.
Correct. Yeah. So they know immediately as soon as you receive money that you have that money. Um, Yeah, and also they can see that all of that money is related. Um, so silent payments aim to fix that by effectively allowing people to create addresses for you. So you can give them a silent payment identifier, and then they can generate addresses that aren't obviously linked to one another, but they're still all spendable by the intended recipient. So it's a cool protocol. There's now a bunch of wallets implementing this. One that's noteworthy is Sparrow. Sparrow is often referred to as maybe the most mature, one of the most mature wallets in Bitcoin, on-chain wallets in Bitcoin. They support a lot of cool features, like if you're using multi-sig with multiple hardware wallets, you're probably using Sparrow to send your
Mhm.
transactions. They're implementing silent payments, and yeah, the one of the so yeah, we can see that in 2024 people asked for it, but now even just last week this PR was merged, um, which is pretty freaking cool. Um,
So there were some Sparrow people there at
They're supposed to be. I don't think any Sparrow people ended
okay,
up showing up, but
but the silent payments was discussed at the conference a good bit.
yeah, like Bull Bitcoin, GG from Bull
Hmm.
was there, and they're an exchange that has implemented silent payments. Um, One thing that I thought found interesting was like the technical challenges with supporting silent payments. In
Hmm.
order for a wallet to be able to see all of these addresses, in order to process that and receive money, you effectively have to scan every address on the
Hmm.
blockchain to check to see if that's one of your silent payment addresses.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Monero actually. When you sync a Monero node, you have to like check basically like brute force try to decrypt to see if it's one of yours.
Yeah, and that's like a big problem. It's like such a hard task to check all of these addresses that like you really can't do it quickly on a phone. Um, so there's a few different ideas.
Not to mention the fact that you may not even have a full node on the phone.
Correct. Yeah. So one, you need a full node. You need all the transactions, and two, it's expensive. So like just to process all of that data is even if you do have a full node, like on a Raspberry Pi or something, it's probably not going to be beefy enough to do this in any reasonable amount of time, or it'll take like weeks or days. I don't know actually how long to sync the blockchain, but very very long time. Um, so there's a few different ideas about how to actually implement this for wallets. One that I think Sparrow's using and other wallets are looking at is rather than doing the scanning on your home server, you're gonna like on your personal laptop, you're gonna do the scanning on an Electrum server, and then Electrum is gonna supply you with hints about just specific blocks to look through.
Mm.
In this paradigm, my understanding is that it's similar to like Bloom filters, where
Oh,
you can yeah, ask for like ranges or you ask for a bunch of different pieces of information that don't reveal what you're actually looking for, but it allows them to just give you a narrower set of information for you to check personally. Um,
yeah, because that would be the problem. Is that if you just trust somebody else's server for silent payments, um, if you just trust somebody else's server for silent payments, like to index your addresses, like well they know all your addresses,
so
and
it kind
so
of ruins or it
ruins the
destroys a
problem.
lot of the point.
We got a comment in the chat from YNNIV. Raspberry works great for me. So
For silent payments, yeah,
yeah,
cool,
he must be doing silent payments or indexing. That's really cool. Says it's primarily SSD versus HDD.
gotcha.
Like
Okay, um,
in other words, it's probably I think he's trying to say like it's probably faster on a SSD.
gotcha. Yeah, well, another thing that is interesting about this problem. So like yeah, the moving it to Electrum is like part of
Hmm.
is part of the solution. It's actually really expensive even for Electrum just to scan all of these things, even on the server, on like a beefy server with good hardware if you have a
Hmm.
sufficient number of users. So there, I think Craig Raw or somebody else working on Sparrow or another wallet, they're doing the hard work to write GPU accelerated code for
What?
checking addresses. Yeah, so they're my understanding is it's either CUDA or something like CUDA. They're writing GPU code to write like high performance code for scanning addresses, like high performance cryptography code.
Whoa.
So it's kind of nuts how much effort's going into this, and to make it work. Um, yeah.
It's cool. I respect it a lot.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of privacy in Bitcoin, or attempts to make Bitcoin more private. I wonder how much, like, if this is still worth it at this point. If you're doing all of this like crazy stuff on the server, like, is this the right approach? Like, I'm bullish on. I think silent payments are really cool. It's an interesting problem, but like, if we're forced to write GPU code for the server and then like do all of this stuff to keep the server from knowing the users, I don't know if the, I don't yeah, like it just it raises some alarm bells in my head of like,
Yeah.
is this really the right approach?
Yeah, because it's interesting. Would that one's like, I guess another question to ask would be like, if you have this server that's running GPU accelerated code to process addresses, how many users can that server serve? How many users can it service? And then furthermore, like, what is the cost of running that server? So and like specifically, like, what's the cost per user? And it kind of gets at some of the um questions around freedom tech and decentralization. It's always like, well, what's the incentive to run these things? With Bitcoin nodes, it's like, your incentive is kind of just like having, your own, independent, being able to independently validate the data, right? For a Lightning node, in theory, you want to be able to, get route, pay, you want to be able to route payments and get some fees off of that. You get to stuff like, for example, Nostr relays, and it's like, well, everyone debates that. It's like there's not, some people have tried to come up with incentives, but it's not always clear. Same thing for a silent payment server, be kind of like, what's the incentive?
Yeah, I guess it would just be for like companies that are building wallet tooling that's self-sovereign and they want it to
Yeah.
be private for the users. Like, it's still, even if the server like sees all of your transactions, it's still better than the whole world seeing all of your payments. So like,
Hmm.
there is like a solid strict improvement over your privacy, your network privacy, even if you're doxing yourself to your wallet provider.
Hmm.
So um, yeah, it's super interesting, and just like, it's nerd sniping a ton of people just because the problems are so cool.
Hey, Alex, I got to drop in about 5 minutes here,
Cool.
unfortunately.
I'll skip to some other stuff.
Yeah. So tell me whatever you like to get to, and you can hang around without me if you want, but it would just be the Alex show at that point.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay, so a couple of other cool things. Yeah, so PayJoin, that was a big presence. A bunch of people working on PayJoin were there. They're getting close to a stable release for PayJoins, and they're going to start shilling this to people and getting people to work on PayJoins, or implement PayJoins into wallets. Very excited about that. Frost, this was a really cool a part of the conference. The whole Frost Snap team was in attendance. Are you familiar with Frost Snap?
Frost Snap is the hardware wallet that you daisy chain together, right?
Yeah, so you can buy it here now. So they're all for sale. So you can actually buy these. And yeah, it's a super futuristic Bitcoin wallet where you daisy chain them all together. And it's using Frost. So with yeah, it's very cool. So there's a few different types of multisig in Bitcoin. One of them is where you put multiple keys in the transaction. That tells the world that this is a multisig transaction, which isn't great. But because we're using Schnorr keys and Schnorr signatures in Bitcoin, we can do threshold signatures that are private, or that the world doesn't even realize it's a multisig. You can do the threshold signing off chain and then just put a single signature on chain as if it's multisig. Or sorry, as if it's a single sig, but it actually is a multisig. If you do that, if you do traditional, or if you do Schnorr multisig, unless you're using a protocol like Musig, I should say, one way that you can do this scriptless multisig is using something called Shamir secret sharing. But the problem with Shamir secret sharing is that one person at one time has the complete set. You need a coordinator effectively to distribute the shares. But with Frost gives you a way to generate the shares without anybody individually having the full quorum.
Yeah, and it's kind of like an interactive process, though. They do have to like share some data between each other, I think.
Correct. It's a couple of rounds of
And,
communication.
and that's why the frost snap kind of like, I think, solves that problem by having them all daisy chained together.
Yeah, and it's just a good UX.
That way, it's not like if there were three independent devices, like not connected to each other, you would probably have all this back and forth interactivity.
Yeah, you have to plug in each one over and over again.
Yeah, and like sign stuff over and over.
It's a
And yeah.
massive pain in the ass. But yeah, FrostSnap, very cool. I should say the reason why we're drilling into Frost so much is that the hackathon winner, this might have been the coolest hackathon project to come out of one of our Bitcoin Plus Plus events
Yeah.
ever.
That's a big statement.
It's yeah. So I've worked with Bitcoin Plus Plus to plan maybe 8 or ish hackathons, 8 or 10 hackathons. This might be the single coolest project. This was a Taiwanese local developer just getting into Bitcoin somewhat recently. He'd worked on DAO tooling and like Ethereum projects before, so he was kind of familiar with these collaborative voting signing protocols. So he goes to a workshop on Frost, and yeah, he had discovered FrostSnap and was very fascinated by the offline key aggregation. But then he went to a workshop where he learned about the math of Frost, and he saw that there was a tool that kind of explained how Frost works. And he thought in the hackathon, he thought of a novel and interesting improvement over the math, like in the math of Frost, that lets you, instead of just having a 3 of 5, you can have different tiered priority. You can have like a CEO key that has like more authority than like other keys. And so he had like a novel improvement to the protocol, and then built an implementation with the front end and the back end in the hackathon. It was fucking
Holy crap.
crazy. So yeah, he actually improved Frost in a way that like the people that were experts in Frost at the conference are like, yep, this is better. We hadn't thought of this. This is using some cool math that we haven't seen before, which is insane. I've blown away by this project.
That's exciting, and this is somebody who hadn't really contributed to Bitcoin open source before.
Yeah, I mean, he's now working on Bitcoin stuff, but he doesn't have a long career in Bitcoin. He's not like a serial.
Got it.
Yeah, this is the guy in Lisa. Yeah, he won the hackathon.
Overall, aside from this project, how was the hackathon?
Spectacular. We had 30 projects, which is a record, I think, for in-person hackathons. Yeah, a bunch of Taiwanese local developers that were just excited about Bitcoin and hadn't been to a Bitcoin conference before showed up and hacked. Got a bunch of cool projects. Yeah, this was the first international Bitcoin conference to ever come to Taiwan. So the developer community was incredibly excited.
Yeah, I think it's like you were telling me off the air. It's just like when you have a local community that shows up in force to a conference, it really seems to improve the vibes at the hackathon and just like improve the not only amount of participation but like overall quality.
Absolutely. It's just something special when everybody's excited, and this is like their first time interfacing with like the global Bitcoin scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should say also that this might be my favorite like tidbit about. He has this Twitter post that we're looking at that talks about his experience, the winner. And he said, yeah, I'm just reading an excerpt. The demo was the scary part. Presenting in English is a rare challenge for me. I built a full UI to make it smoother and practiced 100 times overnight. But once on stage, my mind went blank. I forgot my script and just spoke from the heart. To my surprise, I won first place in best use of cryptography. So freaking cool.
Doing it live.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very well-deserved win. Just tragically, he actually missed the award. So like wasn't present.
Oh no!
Because he was like studying for his exams or something, and then we saw him at the after party. But like he just missed the.
He was studying for. He missed his first place prize because he was studying for his exams.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy, right?
Wow. Okay, that's some dedication right there.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I'm excited to like dive more into the specific math. Like he doesn't use Shamir secret sharing for the generation. He uses something slightly different. I was just reading about this today. Yeah, it uses rank-based authentication. Yeah, and instead of using Lagrange interpolation, which is like what Shamir secret sharing uses something called Birkhoff interpolation, which I don't think has really been explored inside of Bitcoin. It has been explored in other DAO tooling and other ecosystems, but it has not yet been applied to Bitcoin, but it's absolutely applicable to the same kinds of problems we're solving with multisig. So yeah, no, it's a real improvement to Bitcoin to come out of this hackathon.
That's great. That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, I realize we're 2 minutes over your time.
It's all good. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting back to another Bitcoin plus plus hackathon. Wish I could have made it to Taiwan. Glad to hear that it was a fun trip and a great hackathon turnout.
Of course.
So real quick, I don't think I'll just go ahead and put a reminder up to everybody. If you like what we're doing here, you can support us on fountain.fm. You can just search for ATL BitLab. That's ATL space BITLAB. Just look for the podcast there. If you leave us a boost, we'll read it on the show next time. But otherwise, I guess we'll probably be back in about 2 weeks then after the holidays.
Yep. Go sign up for Boss Challenge, for the Boss Challenge at bosschallenge.xyz.
Yep. Yellow apply button in the corner. We'll see you in the challenge, everybody. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later.
Yep. Thanks. See you next year. Happy holidays.